Welcome back to ACB Wrestling Talk, your main source for wrestling news and wrestling discussions. I'm, of course, your host, Alexis Carrillo, and let's get into some wrestling talk. Well, this past Tuesday night, Impact opened with, in what, my opinion, should have been the main event of the show. They opened up with the Brian Cage versus Eddie Edwards match, and even though I predicted that Eddie Edwards would get the win and that would slow Brian Cage down in his continued hunt for the Impact World title to get that title back, we did not get a clear winner because Michael Elgin came out and pretty much caused interference, and it turns out they made it a three-way. They made it a three-way match, Elgin, Cage, and Edwards, where who came out with the victory? Well, of course, Michael Elgin, who they seem to be poising or pushing to be the next top challenger, maybe, to the world title after Callahan deals with Tessa Blanchard. That might be the case overall. That's a bait and switch I wasn't expecting. That's something that didn't make me happy because I was pretty excited about Cage versus Edwards. I was pretty excited to see what Impact would do, which superstar they would pick to be a future #1 contender for the Impact World title. Whoever came out of this one-on-one match with the victory was going to be the clear front-runner after Tessa Blanchard, and that was not the case. They decided to, promote this match, and instead it was a cop-out with Michael Elgin coming out, and hey, I'm not mad with Elgin being the next, possible next contender for the world title. I'm not mad at that. I'm just disappointed. I really wanted to see Cage versus Edwards have a clear-cut winner. But with that said, we also had the main event of the show where ODB defeated Valkyrie in the main event. This, of course, being that this past Tuesday night, this show was in benefit to ODB, and some of the ticket sales were going over towards her and her burnt up, her food truck that unfortunately got burnt down, and, right when ODB made her return, Valkyrie interrupted her with her stooge by her side, Johnny Bravo, and called her out on the fact that she's the longest reigning Knockouts champion, while ODB is only a 4-time Knockouts champion. And ODB corrected her, as she always does. She said, knocked up champion, which I'm not entirely mad about. I love the fact that she calls it a knocked up champion. That goes completely with her character. And then the surprise win in the main event. And again, just like I stated yesterday, on yesterday's show, I fully expect ODB to have a run at the Knockouts champion as a #1 contender for the remainder of the year. I don't think ODB is a top contender for the Knockouts title. I'm just saying, not many people are going to be paying attention to what Impact Wrestling does right now in this month of December at the tail end of 2019. So let's just hold up on Jordynne Grace right now. She can have her moment at Hard to Kill in 2020 possibly, or even after that. And let's give ODB a bit of the spotlight. She's a damn entertaining character. And like I said, and we just watched it last night, the ODB and Valkyrie characters as they stand right now, they mesh pretty damn well from an entertainment point of view, not from a besties point of view. So again, let's wait and see what Impact does with that. We also got a press media conference segment between Callahan and Tessa Blanchard, mediated by Scott D'Amore and Josh Matthews. They've got I was pretty much expecting a bit more from a Callahan and Blanchard segment, not just a bogus press media conference segment, where Callahan pretty much stated the fact that he thinks Tessa Blanchard is a spoiled brat, which wouldn't be wrong if you looked at her actions ever since she arrived at Impact Wrestling. Just now she's a babyface. And Callahan doesn't seem very thrilled or he doesn't think it's very noteworthy that a woman Tessa Blanchard is challenging for the Impact World title. He doesn't think that. So again, he brings no importance to this match, and that's when things got a little bit heated. Callahan and Blanchard started to confront each other in that press media conference, and they had to be separated by Moore and Matthews. Again, I expected more from an interaction, from a segment with between World Champion Callahan and Blanchard. Possibly, I was expecting the involvement of OVE. That didn't happen. Maybe we can expect that next week. We've also got Ace Austin and Reno's coming in the win over the Rascals, and yet another stop and yet another pitfall for Trey in his road to becoming X Division Champion. He, of course, is going to challenge Triple X Division Champion Ace Austin at Hard to Kill for the X Division Championship. And Ace Austin seems to be a bit more interested with Trey's mother. Again, this is completely with character. Ace Austin, ever since he arrived, he messed with Eddie Edwards by getting close to Alicia Edwards. Now, it seems like he's trying to mess with Trey by getting close with his mother. Interesting. Funny at most points. But I really don't see Trey as X Division Champion anytime soon. But hey, I've been proven wrong. I certainly didn't see Trey as #1 contender for the X Division Championship. So, what do I know? And finally, we also got, well, not finally, but of the points that I want to bring up right now from last night's Impact episode, Rob Van Dam finally made his return. He finally thought that we were worth his time. He made his return. And Tommy Dreamer came out, and instead of what was expected, which was Tommy Dreamer calling RVD out on what he did to Rhino and possibly challenging him to a match right there, right now, that's certainly what I expected. Dreamer proposed that he be a special guest referee for a match next week against this opponent, and he meant Rhino. To which RVD said no, and he did so in a very hilarious manner. He said he had to take care of himself, he had to think of himself, he had to think of his girlfriend and his girlfriend's girlfriend, which got quite a reaction from the crowd in that building. But Rhino came out anyway and attacked him and laid him out and planted the seeds for a future match. And again, I was expecting Dreamer versus RVD on last night's show on Impact, and that building up to RVD versus Rhino at Hard to Kill. When Dreamer proposed he'd be a special guest referee for a match next week, and we're like, no, you need matches. You need to fill up the card at Hard to Kill, and RVD and Rhino have this rivalry going. You don't have many rivalries going on Impact right now, so don't spoil it on an Impact on Access TV episode. So again, pretty glad that they didn't go through with that. But that's pretty much the gist of what happened last night on Impact Wrestling. We've also got, Rich Swann, who had quite a performance 2 weeks ago in that elimination match. Apparently they're sticking him back with Willie Mack in that tag team title division against the North. Possibly they're about to win the tag team titles at Hard to Kill. Again, there's Michael Elgin, there's Rich Swann, there's Tessa Blanchard, there's Eddie Edwards, there's Brian Cage, there's numerous contenders for the Impact World title. There just needs to be more and more time to develop after the fact, after Callahan gets rid of every single one, starting with Blanchard at Hard to Kill. Not only that, but today is Wednesday, which means yet another episode of the Wednesday Night Wars, and the real storyline right now here is, can AEW recover? Can Dynamite, or will Dynamite do anything to get back on top of NXT, which is a company that is on quite a run, 2 weeks in a row getting the win over Dynamite? Can they make it 3? I don't know. NXT has Rhea Ripley versus Dakota Kai planned for tonight. They also got Damian Priest versus Killian Dane to run out of the mill normal kinds of matches. Again, it's tail end of the year. Not many to talk about, not many things to go about, other than the fact that once we get into January, we start getting into the Royal Rumble over in WWE and takeover event in NXT. So, if you ask me, both shows on NXT and Dynamite are kind of a coin flip right now. You know, NXT's also got the fallout from Finn Balor defeating Tommaso Ciampa, who is still on the hunt for the NXT Championship, although his loss to Finn Balor puts that in question. But he also got to ask current NXT Champion Adam Cole what he thinks of the payday kick that Finn Balor delivered on last week's main event, and what he thinks about possibly Finn Balor challenging him for the NXT Championship. And honestly, I wouldn't mind Balor, Ciampa, and Cole having a triple threat match at the next TakeOver event in January. I wouldn't mind that. Although that seems about almost 2 months away, so that's pretty far away. We've also got Dynamite on TNT again. Dynamite coming off their weakest and lowest viewership since they made their debut on TNT, with just over 600,000 viewers. But tonight they might rebound from that, because we've got Y2J coming out, the current AEW World Champion, Le Champion himself, the leader of the Inner Circle, and he's certainly gonna have something to say about Jon Moxley coming out at the end of the show after he defeated Scorpio Sky and confronting him, and possibly declaring himself the new #1 contender for the AEW World Champion. And if you know Chris Jericho, and if you've been watching Y2J over the past few weeks, you know he's pretty damn entertaining on the mic. You know he delivers right then and there. Not only that, but we could also have the Inner Circle and Y2J himself interfere in his Jon Moxley versus Joey Janela match, a rematch from, I believe, Fyter Fest earlier this year. And, you know, Joey Janela went on Twitter and he pretty much stated that he wasn't content with his position in the company. He wasn't getting the opportunities he wanted to get. Well, there you go, kid. You're facing off against the extreme, badass psychopath in Jon Moxley. So, let's see you fare, and let's see you fare well against that. We've also got a few matches. We've got Hikaru Shida versus Chris Statlander, if I pronounce her last name badly. I again apologize, but this is just a match to further establish Shida as #1 in the rankings for the women's division, set to go up against Rio. We've also got a couple of matches involving tag teams. Singles matches, I should say. We've got Trent versus Rey Fenix. Gotta go with Rey Fenix right there. Fenix has been on a roll in terms of singles matches. And we've got his partner, Pentagon Jr., facing off against Christopher Daniels. And even though I don't want to watch Christopher Daniels lose, I think he's got to lose against Pentagon Jr. I think they got to put the Lucha Brothers over and possibly make them the future challengers for the AEW World Tag Team Championships against SCU, seeing as the Young Bucks and Proud and Powerful are still embroiled in their feud, in their rivalry. So they're, you know, the World Tag Team titles are pretty much not the focus on that feud. And finally, again, speaking of the Young Bucks and Proud and Powerful, they are set to be in what I can only predict to be the main event or the opener of tonight's Dynamite on TNT broadcast, when the Natural, Dustin Rhodes, teams up with the Young Bucks to face off against Sammy Guevara and Proud and Powerful, members of the Inner Circle. Gotta give this 6-man tag team match to the Inner Circle. They've certainly been trying to establish the Inner Circle as this unstoppable force. And even though the Young Bucks and Dustin Rhodes are great performers in their own right, they're pretty damn over with the crowd. That's needless to say. Again, inner circle needs to be established in AEW's mind, and I certainly don't think that just because they've been losing to NXT for the past 2 weeks, that AEW management are going to change their tune and are going to be as reactionary, if Cody is to be believed. Not only that, but we also got some news yesterday, and that is that Johnny Impact, Johnny Mundo, Johnny Nitro, John Hannigan, John Morrison, whatever you want to call him, John Morrison is returning to WWE. That was made official by Ryan Satin on WWE Backstage, later made official by WWE.com itself. So John Morrison, the Friday Night Delight, is returning, and the real question is, will he be returning to Raw? Will he be returning to SmackDown? Or is it going to be the shocker of the year and he turns up on NXT? WWE.com has pretty much tweeted that John Morrison signed up with the company on a multi-year deal. John Morrison commented on Twitter with this, and I quote, "Confirmed, I have signed with WWE. I've never been as good at anything as I am at wrestling, and I can't wait to stand again in a WWE ring opposite the most talented people in the business." So it's safe to say John Morrison is back with the leader in sports entertainment, and I believe he's 39 years old. He's about to be 40, so he's not that young when it pertains to a professional wrestling career. Pretty young in his life, nonetheless. But, you know, this was something that was being speculated for months and months after he stopped appearing on Impact Wrestling, after he didn't re-sign with the company. Everyone talked about how he was going to be a part of the WWE roster. Hell, tons of wrestling news websites made it official out there that he has signed with WWE, and John Morrison came out. John Morrison came out and pretty much refuted those reports, stating that that wasn't quite the deal just yet. Well, now it is, and I don't know. I really don't know where I want to see him again. Friday Night Delight, that's a name that rings pretty damn well on SmackDown. And hey, you know, you need baby faces against the Fiend on the Blue brand. John Morrison is set to return. He's bound to get a babyface reaction, I guess. Why not put him up over there? You've also got his former tag team partner, The Miz, on SmackDown. So, you know, multitude of possibilities over there. You want to inject some excitement into Monday Night Raw, although I really don't know where he fits on the Red brand. Put him on Raw. And on NXT, he really doesn't have any history with anyone on NXT. So if it were up to me, John Morrison would head over to the SmackDown brand on Fox. So let's just wait and see how soon he makes his return to WWE. But what do you think? What do you think about John Morrison's return to WWE? Are you excited? Did you want him to re-sign with Impact? Did you want him to turn up over in AEW? Leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions on the comments section below. And not only is John Morrison returning to WWE, and not only did CM Punk return to wrestling just a few weeks ago on WWE Backstage, but we've also got the return of Stu Bennett to professional wrestling itself, and he's set to return as a part of the NWA announce team at NWA's upcoming Into the Fire pay-per-view on Saturday, December 14th. And if you don't recognize the name Stu Bennett, you might recognize the name Wade Barrett from WWE, or, you know, the name Bad News Barrett. You know, he used to come out on Raw and said, "I've got some bad news." And I don't know why my English accent sounds like Sean Connery, but yeah, Stu Bennett is set to replace Jim Cornette alongside Joe Galli at the pay-per-view on Into the Fire, Saturday, December 14th. This after Cornette made quite the controversial comments on a NWA Power broadcast that NWA Power episode that had to be brought down and re-uploaded due to those comments. Jim Cornette has since been released. So, again, congratulations on Stu Bennett. Hopefully, we can get him back in the middle of that ring because, again, he certainly was very talented. He was poised to be a breakout star in WWE, and it seemed that Super Cena and John Cena himself took care of that and pretty much buried him all the way back in 2010, 2011, back after the Nexus, and Wade Barrett never recovered, and that was some bad news for him. So what do you think about Stu Bennett becoming a part of the NWA announce team? Do you agree with me? Do you think he should be returning to in-ring action pretty damn soon and that will create headlines? Or do you think he should ease into it and let's just see if he can become a good color commentator for Joe Galli on Into the Fire and NWA Power going forward? Leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions on the comment section below. Also, leave your thoughts on what are you going to be watching tonight, NXT or AEW Dynamite. Which one do you choose? Which one will you be tuning into? If you asked me, and if I had the chance, if I had cable, I'd be just flipping back and forth. You know me, I don't choose one brand in particular. I just love wrestling, and both wrestling companies, as pretty much every wrestling company has tons and tons of entertainment to offer, and that's all that matters to me. So go ahead and leave your thoughts and comments on the comment section below. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you dislike this video, hit the dislike button. That's it for me. See you tomorrow.